Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Inessa and I'm an author from Toronto, Canada, and I publish under the pen name Anne Sage. I write fantasy, a lot in the YA genre. I just wrapped up a very long 8-book series in YA contemporary fantasy, and I have moved on to a new series that will be, I guess, ongoing for now. We'll see how it goes, but I'm currently writing in cozy mystery. For adults, paranormal cozy mystery, really, because we got to have some magic in there, as per the tagline of my author name. Now, with that said, today's video is going to be about something that has nothing to do with my other books and a very different type of publishing stream that I have recently taken on. Now, if you like videos about tips for authors, entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, different behind the scenes planning videos, things like that, then make sure that you are subscribed and that you hit the bell notification and join our growing community on here. We'd love to have you. So the video that I'm talking about today and the stream of writing that I'm talking about today is subscription writing. Subscription writing or serial writing, depending on where you choose to publish it and how you choose to kind of position and phrase it, is the act of writing based on a monthly subscription. So it's almost like a Kindle Unlimited kind of version, but you create it yourself. There's a lot of different platforms you can do it on. Some are free, some are paid. I have gone ahead and chosen to go with Patreon. However, there is a new subscription service called Ream that I haven't checked out yet. I think if you're writing in romance, it's very, very good for you to be on there, but it is developed by authors, subscription authors for authors. So it's a great platform. I will likely be checking it out and possibly moving over there, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. For now, I am on Patreon, and my first series that I'm releasing in the subscription kind of model is Patreon exclusive. I do have some chapters going out on Wattpad and on Royal Road, but those will only be for the first book, and they are trickling out very, very slowly. We're talking only 2 chapters per month. So if you're a fast reader and you want to read these books faster, then make sure that I'll put the link for the Gilded Queens, which is my subscription service for reading and for this exclusive series. It's a 4-book series. The series name is The Gilded Queens. The first book we're currently publishing is The Guild of Ravens. This is a portal fantasy. It is a very epic kind of adventure, epic world building, and it's going to be a very interesting project for me. I have talked about it before. I will link that video where I kind of discussed it more in an author chat here. But if you do want to support, become a patron, then make sure that you check out the link below. There's like a lot of other swag and all this fun stuff, different rewards for different tiers and stuff. But I won't talk about the Gilded Queens right now. What I do want to talk about is the actual writing part of a serial or subscription style of writing, because it's very different from writing a book or just one manuscript or just one series. It's a different way of creating content in the book world, I would say. And so I have a few tips from having written. So far, we have 10 chapters out. Now that I have finally submitted Killing Grinds over to my editor, just went out last week. But now that that's out of the way, I have a little bit more time to play with before I hop back into Orchard Hollow and work on the next book. But I have some more time to play with and write more for the Gilded Queens. And so I'm hoping to use the month of September to really pump out like a lot of chapters for the subscription. So what have I learned so far? After setting everything up, going through the motions, developing the story, I have learned quite a bit. A lot of it was to do with the style of writing that is expected in subscription-based models, and the kind of planning and plotting. I think that was a big learning curve for me. And I will talk about it as I kind of talk about the tips. So why don't we get into tip number 1, which is you do want to outline, but you want to outline mildly. So for someone like me, who's a heavy plotter, as you probably know from watching this channel, mildly outlining was a learning curve because I like to be very, very outlined in how I plot my books. But with something like this, especially when it's not one book, but it's a full series that is just on subscription and it's exclusive, there's no way that I could outline the entire 4-book series. It would take me forever. It would also change as I'm writing, because as we know, I both outline and discovery write at the same time. I'm a combination, kind of a hybrid of both. So if you are a plotter, you do want to plot a little bit, maybe kind of the full story arc of the book or the series or whatever it is, but not so specific that you're outlining every single thing that really happens chapter by chapter. The way that I've been working it, and it's been working really well, is I outline 4 chapters at a time. And I outline them very loosely. So I will say they come here, this happens, just kind of like the main bullet point events. And then I sit down and write. And I see what happens, because the story is fluid, and also because there is no given chapter length when you're working on subscription-based novels, because if people really like what they're reading, you're going to have to keep it going to give them what they want, right? It's serial writing usually spans a lot longer than a book would. Some of the very popular serial, especially in fantasy, the fantasy serial subscriptions out there have up to 200, like 300 episodes per story. Per book, really. That's a lot. That's a lot of chapters. So it's kind of, you have to think of it more like you're writing a TV show. I don't know if anybody here watches, I'm sure you do, it's a very popular show, but if you watch Supernatural, I'm sure you know they've tried to cancel that show several times and the fans just didn't go for it. So they just keep going. That's kind of how it works with serial writing too. If your readers and your subscribers and people who are your patrons or however they choose to support you, if they're liking the story, you're going to have to keep it going. So keep that in mind. Outline mildly so you kind of have direction, but be ready for that direction to change. Tip number 2 is you want to develop intriguing characters. The entire basis of serial writing, subscription writing, is people are there for the characters. They fall in love with your characters and they stick with your characters the same way that you fall in love with characters that you see on TV shows. It is the exact same thing. So you want to make sure that your characters are intriguing, that they're interesting, that they're relatable to people. And you want to make sure that you're kind of develop them in them fully. And the best way to do that is to stick to one character for a longer period of time. So maybe one POV to start. If you are writing romance and you're having the 2 POVs, I would say maybe develop each character very, very carefully. Give them a few chapter POVs so we get really into their head before you start introducing the next person, because you want your readers to get sucked into your character's mind. You want them invested in your character, and then they'll be invested in what they have to do. So it's almost like plot is important, but character comes first for subscription writing. At least that's what it has been for me and my story. And I'm usually very much a 50-50 person, like plot and character both play a role. But in this case, I'm leaning very carefully, very heavily into character development and the relationships between the characters. Tip number 3 would be don't info dump. So it might be very tempting, especially if you're doing fantasy or developing a full world, to kind of info dump in the first chapter, right? Because you want them introduced into the story and you really want them to know what's going on. However, info dumping is still info dumping. And you want the kind of content that keeps people coming back. And so that means that you need to purposefully leave things out. As I'm developing my world, which I said is a portal fantasy and an epic fantasy at that, I'm slowly kind of dropping things in as I would with any book, but it's more intricate this time around because I might want to say a lot about something, but at the same time, I think if I hint at something, that's going to make people want to read on to the next chapter and the next chapter and the next chapter and tell their friends about it or upgrade tiers to get more chapters or get more swag or whatever. So you want to think about that. Control your info dumps, control that need. If you think you're info dumping, just stop, walk away, stop writing, come back to it, take stuff out and try again. You don't want to info dump because that's going to make people not want to read on in the story if they have all the information up front. You also want to have some ideas ready. So like we said, to mildly outline, but also maybe keep like a notebook or a scratch pad or a bullet journal, however it is you do it, like an app on your phone, but just have some ideas for future instances and future books ready. You can also pull these ideas from your current readership, ask them what they want to see next. So you can do like a choose your own adventure type of subscription model, which is really great. And you can ask your patrons and your subscribers what they want to see happen next, what they want to read about more, and that will help you generate some ideas. But you want to have a bunch of different ideas to pick from, because sometimes you might be releasing chapters at a very, very quick pace. So like 1 to 2 chapters, 3, 4 chapters a day. Some people release 1 chapter every day. Now those chapters tend to be very, very short. I write longer chapters. And so I'm releasing 2 for certain tiers, 1 for other tiers every week. But you want to be able to publish the way that you said you would. And so having those ideas already there, it'll be easy when you sit down and you're like stumped, then you open up your list of ideas and you think, oh, hey, how about this? And maybe this can happen in this chapter. So it gets your energy going and your mood going. And then the next tip that I have, and this one is very, very, very important. And I actually learned this tip from watching a masterclass by R.L. Stine, who I think is just like such a great storyteller, but have hooks at the end of every chapter. This is important when you're writing books in general, because you want people to turn the pages and turn on to the next chapter. But it's especially important for subscription style writing, because you want people to stay subscribed. You want them to stay in the model that you've created, and you want them to want to upgrade and to move forward with the story. So you want them invested. You want them guessing what's going to happen next, and you want them ending on a cliffhanger and a hook of some sort, and thinking, oh my God, I can't wait until next week when I can read more. Or if, say, they're in a lower tier where they get less chapters, they might say, hey, you know what? I really want to know what happens, so I'm going to upgrade my tier so I can read it right now. So hooks, very important to keep people going, and to get them like addicted to the story, which is something we always want as authors. Next tip is develop your publishing schedule. Like I said, you might be doing 1 chapter a week. You might be doing 1 chapter a month. You might be doing 1 chapter a day. Figure out what that schedule is, because that schedule is going to help you figure out the length of your chapter. So if you are releasing a chapter a day, Monday to Friday, which is like a lot, and I don't recommend it unless that's like basically all you do is the subscription service. And if you do, that's fantastic. But if you do other stuff, you might not want to release that much. But if you can, and if you have the ability to do so, shorten your chapter lengths, right? To make it more feasible for you. Because the last thing you want to do is promise something and not deliver. So you want to make it easier on yourself, and make sure that you know your own limitations, and be honest with yourself when you're developing this. If you're releasing 1 chapter a week, you can write longer chapters. Keep in mind, there's some other stuff that we're going to talk about towards the end that will be a time suck for these chapters as well. You also want to stay consistent. So as I mentioned, once you make a promise to your readers and your subscribers, you cannot back off. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to give you this and then not give it. That's the fastest way to earn a reputation of an author who doesn't deliver. And you don't want to do that. And it's also unfair to the readers. And there are people who are literally giving you money every single month to read your work and to support you. So you want to stay consistent, and you want to give them what it is that you promised you would give them. And then finally, and this is another time suck for the subscription service, is edit. You probably don't have the time or the ability to hire an editor and work alongside you in these fast publishing schedules. But the beauty of a subscription service and a serial writing service is that usually the way that authors treat it is that it is early access. It's early access to books before they're published. So before they go through final edits, before they go through proofreading, before they go through developmental edits, before all of that fun stuff happens and the book is published, this is where they get the first eyes on it. So somewhere like Wattpad and Royal Road, there's a subway station near us called Royal York. I mean, not near us, but that was my child screeching in case you heard it and the microphone picked it up. But somewhere like that, people can actually make comments. Same with Patreon. I'm pretty sure on Ream they can as well. I haven't checked out the platform as much, but a lot of platforms, readers can make comments. And more often than not, those comments will help you later when you're ready to actually publish the books outside of the subscription service, if that's something you're doing. When you're ready to actually do that, then you can use those comments to better your books, treat them as alpha and beta readers, right? So edit your chapters before you give them to these people to read to your subscribers. You want to sit down and fully edit them yourself. And sometimes that includes 2 or 3 passes. That's not just proofreading, because everything you put out there should be proofread by somebody. I know that there's a lot of conversations going on about like, if you don't have the budget for editing and just put it out there because it's your life's work and your heart and your passion. And I agree that not everybody has the budget for huge editors, but there are editors still looking for experience. There's a lot of editors who are just starting out. They'll do things for free or for very, very cheap. I wholeheartedly believe that you should not charge somebody money for something that is not polished. And that goes for subscription services as well. Now, that could just be polished by you, but if you are doing it yourself, maybe get some more grammar kind of lessons in you. Look it up online. Get manuals of style that you can reference, but give it a full good read through several times over. Make sure that whatever you're putting on your subscription services is as good as you can get it. Because if you have a lot of spelling mistakes, if your grammar is not there, if there's things that they're noticing over and over again, like repeated words and kind of like weak sentences and clutch sentences, you're going to have subscribers that drop off. And I think that's, fair. It's just like the same way you would get reviews and for things like that we really can't complain about, because if it's something that they're noticing and a few people are noticing, then that's just the way it is. We have to fix it. It's our job to fix it. So I think that if you can put in the time to fully edit your stories and really read them over and over again before you put them out, then that's going to do you a whole world of good. That could also mean that you might want to sit down and write a bunch of chapters and have stuff ready to go so that you're not pressed to write every single week. It's almost like a bonus tip that if you won't have the time, maybe take a week or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, and just give yourself a bulk of chapters so that all you have to do after is polish the chapters before you put them on. And that will make your life so much easier. As I mentioned, I am just starting out in this world of subscription. You guys are on this journey with me. So these are just the tips that I have learned from my own experience so far that I wanted to share with you guys if you wanted to kind of jump on the subscription writing, serial writing bandwagon. As I learn more, as I grow with this series and with this model, then I'm definitely going to do more videos and share it with you guys. But I hope this is helpful to anybody who is considering getting into it. And that's what I have for that video, but I do have something really fun to share because today my paperbacks of Portal of Ruin came in from my publisher. I got my copies in. So if you were in the giveaway when we were celebrating the release of this book last week, then they're here. They're going to get sent out next week. If you have asked for the first book in the series, a signed copy instead, that's going out to you as well. If you are yet to email me and you're one of the winners, if you're in the group, there's actually somebody in the group yet who hasn't emailed me with their address and where to send stuff to. So make sure you email me because I need to send you your book. So these are the copies of Portal of Ruin, and this is the final book in Shadowhurst. I don't know if you can, it's probably too blown out, but it's beautiful. I love it. There's the rest of the series behind me, so I just wanted to share it with you guys because it's here. I can't believe it. A whole series done, 8 books plus a novella, and we're finished. Shadowhurst is done. So sad, but also so happy because I am very excited to move on to the next projects, and there's a lot in store. So stay tuned for that. And so with that little fun little tidbit, thank you so much as always for subscribing, for being part of this community. I hope you all stay magical, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!